Hello everybody and welcome to Case Management Week 8, the end of Week 8, and today we're going to talk about case planning for our clients. Carly's frozen.
Yeah.
With a bad look on your face as well, so that'll be immortalized on this video. Unfortunate. Anyway, let's share our screen. And we'll start looking at where to get case plans. Now, I think case planning actually came up earlier on. I did have a document. Look, in here, case planning probably occurred around week 6. Development of smart case plans was week 6. So even though we've done the learning, we're going to review that because assessment 10 is the submission of, and here we're going to look on the front where to get the templates for submitting your assignments. We've got the assessment report down here, and we've also got the case management plan down here. So I'm going to open the case management plan because that's what we're aiming to look at today, and we're going to show you how to complete that. So let's have a look at this. So we're going to put some details of our clients down, their name, their age, and we're going to get this. I've got this. This is Maria's. I've got Maria's case file here. This is her client assessment form because it should be the client assessment form that you've developed from the interview, which will help you to do the case plan. So we can see we've completed aspects of this client assessment form down here. Let's have a look. And so we're going to do the case plan for Maria. Now, here's Maria. I'll shrink this down a little bit. So we've got Maria, there's page 1, and that's her presenting information. We've got page 2, and this is the assessment record, and page 3 is the assessment record. We identify some problems that the client might have had, and we capture some information from the interview. And then page 4 and 5 is where we draw conclusions from the information. So we look at Maria's strengths. We look at her identified support needs. So we're just going to simply list the support needs here, very simply on this document, and then we're going to itemize some case goals. We're going to put those within a time frame. And so that's the end of the assessment form, but this is the information. These 2 pages, pages 4 and 5, will help us with the case plan.
And can we print these off? We go.
Yeah, you can. Well, you can get copies. You can get copies of these back on. If we go back to here, these are here, but the information that I've written is not the information that you're able to access. They're blank.
Oh, yes. Blank. Okay, that's okay. Yes.
You see, these are tools for the simulated client interviews. These were just to help you. But in week 10, you're required to complete the assessment report. Let's open that and have a look at that. Because that is not the same. So here's the 2 documents for week 10. And this is document 1. And this is what you've got to write. Now, if you've completed the form in digital form, if you've completed the assessment form and hand it in, that will have all of these all of this information will be represented. But recommendations are required here. In terms of what we're looking at, recommendations would be case plan goals, wouldn't they? So if you've completed these recommendations for Maria, that'll be okay. And there's don't forget referrals to other services. So, but this is when we're doing the case plan for week 10, this is the document we complete. We're not worried so much about this participants. That doesn't really come into it.
Okay.
It's obviously a hangover from something in the past. So these people are not relevant. What is important are these. And this is not quite as detailed as the one I've got because there's no person responsible for this. Well, it's a SMART goal. So for a SMART goal, we need to be able to complete the acronym SMART. What does SMART stand for? I forgot now. Specific, measurable.
Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely.
Exactly. There you go. Yep. Now, we're missing one of those, aren't we? And which is people. So, so in terms of timely, we've got a priority and we've got the review date. So priority is how important is that? ASAP now. So if we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we were looking at that, weren't we? And actually we ran off on a point. So we're talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We're going, if we're only going to consider the first two parts of the lower part of those triangles for Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I've got them. Let me, we can open this and have a look at it. This will be somewhere. Let's have a look in there. There's one, look. Beautiful. We've got a child weight related one there. Okay. Now these aren't, this is different. The child related one is different because in the normal one, the adult one, it says it's got sex is included in the physiological needs. But we don't want to put that down. Human touch is a better way to represent that idea of sex because we don't, as support needs, saying that we do. I'll tell you about that in a minute. So really, physiological safety and security are the levels of the triangle that support services will assist clients to reach. And we started here, health. So if somebody's got a medical condition, that's something that needs to be fixed today, whether child or adult. That doesn't make any difference. Then they're going to need food or they will die. It's a basic thing. They need somewhere to sleep and they need somewhere safe to have shelter. And it depends. So if we're looking at Maria, who's an older person, does she have an income to buy food? Is she getting meals? Is she got somewhere to sleep? She's got a house, but is that shelter? When it says shelter, we're talking about things like security. So protect from danger, safety and security. We need to be aware that her living environment is safe and secure. And we're not sure because her husband is a domestic violence perpetrator if she lives in a safe environment. So we have to confirm that with her. And human touch. In terms of this human touch, this is one. Let's have a look at another one. This is a more relevant one for us today. This becomes, sorry, that's a bit of a joke. That's not really a thing. So again, isn't it? So there's lots of Maslow's hierarchy. It's a very popular thing. So breathing, if you can't breathe, you're probably dead. I won't worry about that. Homeostasis means having a safe, secure place, a place of feeling at home is homeostasis. So it's not just we've given you a cardboard box by the side of the road, you've got somewhere to sleep, go away. Homeostasis means a sense of well-being because you have a feeling of security at home, and that's what would be affected by what's her name, Maria's situation. Yeah, she might not feel safe, and a toilet as well. So this is the adult one. Some of these are interpreted a little bit, but we're still being very clear that we're only going to be here. Love and belonging. We're not really addressing that, maybe to some extent, but We want to address social isolation because we want Maria to feel secure and at home. We don't really think, we don't, and services are not really put over to simulate families in the long term, for example. There's no such thing as a family fostering service, for example. That's what we're talking about. Is there an older people fostering agency? No. Sexual intimacy, can we make referrals to deal with sexual intimacy? Carly, can we?
I guess so.
Where would you do that? Where would you provide sex for your clients?
Well, well, you wouldn't refer them anywhere.
Would you not?
Well, no. Well, I don't think so.
I know, that's
No.
it. I asked this nice curly question because it's fun. The answer is,
Yes.
there's a charity called Touching Base that works in Sydney. They provide sex workers to work with people with disabilities. You can indeed find support agencies that will enable sexual intimacy.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've done it in the past. I've been part of an organisation where we've enabled a client to access sex workers without actually making the introduction. The clients have come to us and said, the client, I shouldn't say multiple, the client came to us and said, I want to go and have sex with somebody. And in order to satisfy that need, we've pointed them in the right direction and enabled them to be able to go and make those arrangements and not themselves be exploited because they had learning difficulties. So so sometimes that is our job, and referrals are sometimes. I wrote this thing on referrals recently, and referrals are very interesting things because you can do a lot in your job without actually just. If we go and look at if we go back to our form and we look at our referring agencies and we refer to these, we go and send people to these official places. But when you're referring to other services, you might be able to solve somebody's problem very quickly by just going, bang, why don't we just pick up the phone and let's say an older person might be in danger of losing their home because their home is infested with insects and they hoard, and the local government healthcare workers come around and said, sorry, you're going to have to go into supported housing because you're clearly not looking after yourself. Now, I've done this as well. I've gone around to that person, had a chat, said to that person, you're living in a communal environment, you're going to have to deal with this or go into supported housing. What do you want? They've said, let's deal with it. So you're hoarding a load of stuff. We're going to get rid of all your crap. Okay, we'll do that. We'll get rid of all your crap. And then we're going to fumigate the place. Yep, okay. And so as a worker, I've called the guy that goes and cleans up the locations where people commit suicide and clean the brains off the walls. And turns out he cleans old people's houses as well. That's a very lucrative industry, by the way. If you ever want to branch out, cleaning up.
I hate cleaning with a passion.
I'm talking about cleaning body matter.
Oh yeah, but I couldn't have. No, I hate cleaning anyway. But no, definitely not. Definitely. I have a very weak stomach.
Well, anybody else who's listening, cleaning up dead people, very, very lucrative. Anyway. So referring people can be a very fast way of dealing with somebody's problem. And if you're smart about it, you don't just refer people to support agencies. You can actually just take over and go, why do I need to find a support agency who's going to make the same phone call that I could just make now? So instead of me calling the support agency, I'll just make the phone call to the cleaning agency, for example, and deal with the job. And so you can avert crises for our clients by helping them Right, tangents, running off on tangents. So Maslow's hierarchy of need is where we determine the order of priority, and the order goes health, food, sleep, safety, shelter, human interaction, emotional support and stability. Then you want to go for short term would be arranging an income. And you think, oh, well, you need money immediately, but you don't ever get money immediately. Rarely do you ever get cash in your hand immediately. So that tends to be more of a short-term fix, not an immediate fix in terms of priority.
Yeah.
Also, things like rent assistance. Somebody might need to pay rent and get financial assistance to pay rent. And employment and education, they become longer term sorts of issues. Other things like counseling, they'll become short term. If somebody has some emotional trauma, especially if they've been abused or raped or attacked or assaulted, they might need some immediate support and emotional counseling to start helping them deal with that. But if it's a longer term thing like historical child abuse, and they've not dealt with it up to now, and they're not going to kill themselves, and you've risk assessed them, and there's no mental health issue that immediately requires them to be supported, then short term. Oh, the other thing is, we've missed immediate things. If you've assessed somebody to be at risk of self-harming or harming somebody else, that's an immediate response. So that's down in terms of the health issue that we should mention. Here's an interesting curly one. If somebody you know is a substance abuser and they're going, right, I'm going out now, I'm going to fix up and I'm going to take my last fix, you know, or you suspect they don't say that, but you suspect that they're physically very frail, and you think that if they go out and use again, they might actually kill themselves. There's very little you can do about that. Okay. Where do you go? Somebody makes that choice. So you might, you know, there's no emergency drug intervention service to be able to lift that person and say, sorry, don't take another shot. And that might, when you say another shot, I'm sort of like condensing it, but you might go, another week of using is going to do for this guy. You know, they can barely make it. And there's all sorts of other things that go. Anyway, so there's our hierarchy of needs. That's how we're going to assess need, basically based on that. I'm thinking about our clients. I think we've covered it all. So there's the immediate needs. Short-term needs would be counselling links and linkages. Linkages to something else. And then medium to long-term education and employment. And depending on somebody's income circumstances as well, that might become a medium to long-term, especially if they've been suspended from payments. So they've been receiving New Start, for example, and they've not followed the requirements for receiving New Start, reporting on time, applying for jobs, etc., and they've been suspended, or they were employed and then they've been unemployed, retrenched or sacked or fired, and it's clearly their own fault and they've had periods of unemployment in the past. They might go back to Centrelink, and Centrelink will say, sorry, we're not going to give you an immediate payment. You'll have to wait 12 weeks before we start paying you. So sometimes that's a medium-term thing, isn't it? Arranging income. And so how are you going to deal with that?
So what do you do?
What do you do? Yes.
If you can't prepare, like if they've got to wait 12 weeks for Centrelink and they've got no money.
Yeah. Seen those people begging in the streets?
Yeah.
Well, that's where they come from. They have no money. They have no income. It's considered an incentive. The thing is, you think, oh, well, we'll put them up in a homeless service, right? Can't do it. You've got to pay rent in a homeless service. Homeless services aren't free. You agree to sign a document. You have to have an income. And that's one of the reasons homeless services will not give away unless they're geared for this, and they're mostly not. Homeless services don't give away beds to refugees, for example, who aren't able to get a Centrelink income, asylum seekers. There's a great big hole in the net. The net is not a catch-all, and people are allowed to fall through and fail. Absolutely they are. Understand, when you go, wait a minute, hold on, there's not a welfare sector that picks people up. You're not allowed to bounce when you hit the bottom. If you hit the bottom, you fall through the hole and you live in the shit for a while. And that is a really bad cycle to get into, but people get into it because then all sorts of things, if they're unemployed, they're vulnerable, they're young, they're stupid because they've made these choices, so they're clearly not very able to make good choices in their life, so that helps you understand where they are coming from. And then they become the people on the street, and the other people on the street are equally desperate and naive and stupid and angry, and so it's a horrible world. So you don't want people to be there. So you really have to be very careful and clear in telling people, do not fall into that hole. So yeah, you're unlikely to get a homeless service unless you can demonstrate extreme need. You're unlikely to get a homeless provider to provide a bed to somebody for 3 months without an income.
It's quite odd, really, because majority of homeless people are unemployed.
Unemployed, but receiving some kind of welfare payment.
Yeah, they're getting Centrelink. Yeah,
but you have to work pretty hard to not to be banned and suspended from payments.
Well, don't if you're on New Start, don't you have to have a diary of how many jobs you're?
Yeah, exactly. So
how do the homeless people sort of deal with that when, they can't even get to interviews, or if they do, they stink and haven't, nobody's keen to give them a go.
Carly, you're right. All of that is not wrong, but when they're suspended, you think this is unfair. We agree it's unfair. We've been living this for 20 years, going, geez, and longer, and it just gets worse. The collar around the neck tightens every time the government make it, and it's Labour or Liberal makes no difference. They'll tighten that bloody collar, and they'll blame the people for being poor, and it's their own fault and bad luck, and you're undeserving because you're poor. You made the choice to be poor. Being poor is something you must enjoy. You're undeserving because you're not rich. So fuck you. Oh, sorry, language, Timothy. We're not recording this. Unfortunately, we are. For that bad language, ladies and gentlemen. But that is the way it works. It is a horrible system. As we said, if you want to put on an opera, there's plenty of money. If you want to get fed, there's not very much money. It is weird how it all works, but we agree that it's unfair. And I'm not talking about any political. I'm not going, well, so that way you must vote Labour, because that doesn't work either. So it's not about that. It's about how society views the least capable in terms, and how we're willing to accept. See, those people who we do call it the school of hard knocks, right? That if you cannot even get it together, what you can try and do. So if I got a client who'd fallen through and they arrived to me and they were homeless and they'd been suspended from their income and they had no income, they had no home, and I might be able to fund them in a private rooming house for a week or so. And I might do that if I considered there was a reasonable prospect that they could be diagnosed with something that might explain away their circumstance as to why. So they might have, if I recognize they might have an intellectual learning disability, or there might be a mental health problem, for example, and if that was undiagnosed, we could then go back to Centrelink and say, we've had a diagnosis, this is why that's happened, and that they will restore payments and maybe put somebody on a disability pension rather than New Start allowance based on that. But that does happen, that might happen. There are people for whom that, there are young people who just go, I couldn't be bothered, I was using, and substance users will go, what do you want to do today? Do you want to get up and find work? No. You want to stay home, use substances? I'll stay home, play video games, use substances. That's their choice. And what do? You just say, sorry. Then they turn up and say, I got mugged, I got robbed, I couldn't leave home because I had my shoes stolen. Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's terrible. Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do to help you. And you just turn people away. That is how cruel the system is. In a way, when you're on the coalface, you say, you're able to see where people make choices and go, you made that choice, mate. That's a choice you made. You were given that. You're given two doors and you walk through the wrong one on purpose. And if they go, I didn't know, you might go, well, if you believe they didn't know, you might start going, well, let's do a bit of work for you. But if you don't, you probably go, no, I don't really accept that. You don't seem to be a stupid person. You seem to have made a rational choice, which has led you to this place. So
yeah,
this is what happens. Anyway, geez, we're going way off topic. You've got to, we're out of time and everything. Let's go back to the case plan. So, right. So we've got these issues, case plan goals, right? And this is how we do the case plan. So on the back end of this client assessment form, right? We identify case plan goals. This is for Maria. Call emergency family, assess for emotional needs, mental health assessment, check for risks of ongoing domestic violence. DV is domestic violence. Arrange for a domestic violence support service. Confirm short-term independent income. Address any legal issues related to the husband domestic violence protection orders, separation and divorce, property law. That would be short-term to link somebody in.
Yeah.
And then medium-term counselling. Now we've started looking at the emotional needs in the immediate, and the medium term is about talking about commitment to counselling, so that Maria, she might be suffering from PTSD or something like this, and linking Maria to social supports in the community, bearing in mind we think everything else is taken care of. Oh, what we didn't do down here, which needs to be in here actually, is health. I'll have to write that in. We need to check for her health, because she was beaten up. Now, so with Kylie, let's have a look for Kylie. Let's see what Kylie says. What is it, Kylie? Oh, is that the one? I don't think that's the one, no. Model answers, yeah. So let's have a look at Kylie's model assessment form. So we've got Kylie's model assessment form here, and it says for Kylie, we've got her problems. So we go to the end, identified support needs, mental health, sexual assault, alcohol and drugs, mental health, couples counselling, education, training and employment long term. For Maria, you notice we've got no education, training or employment for her. We might want to include that because she's older. That doesn't mean she's frail and living in a wheelchair. We might want to actually see if she wants to get a job or something as well. So the case plan goals. So I want everybody to not record this. Whatever you do, do not press screenshot now. Okay? That would be very bad. Screen print is not the thing you want to do right now. So her case plan goals: mental health referral for risk assessment, alcohol and drug services for counselling, polysubstance use, sexual abuse counselling because she's got historical sex abuse issues, education, employment training, medium term discuss with Kylie. So you probably want to get it into some discussing about education, find an appropriate level education goal. If she got high school, if she didn't get high school, you want to start high school. If you got high school, you want to start vet maybe, or a degree, or whatever she wants to do, diploma. Think about the area she wants. I think she wants to go into childcare, so vet might be the right level to start at if she's not, or if she's not, you might need to send her back to TAFE for a high school certificate equivalency. And then think about jobs, and she could be doing jobs as well, and some of this might help her because people feel self-esteem through work. And some parenting support groups might help, where you link her in with parenting support groups. If she's explaining, she can explain and have people to talk to, and that can be helpful, and that can become a network of support as well that she can build, which is important. And then there's as we talked about education and employment, there's the AOD substance poly issues there. I don't think they're immediate risks. As long as you tell her, you might want to put it down, tell her that if she mixes drinking alcohol and taking sleeping tablets, that could become a risk of death. So that might need to be explained to her. But I don't believe that turns into a raging polysubstance user. I just think she might be ill-informed. She's drinking. I think she's taken a few too many wines of the evening. Not that she's on the, on the what's it called, meths at 11 o'clock in the morning. So that's my read on it. But okay, so we've got her, and then we've got Aaron. Let's have a look at Aaron. Aaron would be assessment form over here. So with Aaron, we've got problems with Aaron. So we've got his identified support needs. Housing instability could be addressed very simply. Like I said, we don't want Aaron going into the homeless sector. Do not identify him as being in need of homeless services, because it's a world of pain. No one would ever, who worked in the sector, be referring Aaron for a homeless referral. What you'd be trying to do is keep him in with his family, explain to his family the hell that is. They go through the hell as well. I mean, he's going to be homeless going, why can't you let me come back home? And they'll be going, because you need to go through the hell. And you don't really need to go through it, because if they just were able to communicate and find a level of communication, then they could address a lot of problems. So openness, counselling is the big thing for her. Assess for mental health issues, assess for AOD. I would confirm there's no dual diagnosis as well, that he might have a mild mental health issue and alcohol and drugs substance using thing. And get him motivated.
Sorry. Just talking about his housing and his homelessness and stuff, when we did do our role plays at the workshop, like, because I did Aaron, the girl playing Aaron was like adamant she was moving out of home, and like we had to work with that.
Well.
Yeah, so it sort of contradicts do you know what I mean? But that was because she wasn't structured on what the outcome, I guess, was meant to be.
No. Hey, let's bounce on that. Let's go. Actually, good point, though. Let's bounce on what you're saying. What if you've got that client? What if you have that client go, right, no, I'm moving out. I don't care what you say. I don't want to stay. Screw dad. Screw the family. I'm going. I'm sick of them. So what do you do?
Well, Well, you would try and talk it down a bit, I guess. Being out on your own, if you strongly think you should be with his parents, I think you need to not make moving out sound very much fun at all.
Well, yeah, I tell you what I'd do. I'd be going, all right, Aaron, where are you going?
Yeah, like not sort of give him all the help, I guess you could, if he really needed to move out. So
I'd ask him where he's going. What do you think you're doing? Where do you think you're going to go? Do you think we're going to give you a house? Where will you be going after you leave? You can leave home tomorrow. Leave now, mate. No one's stopping you. Where are you going? Let's find out.
Yeah.
Let's do a reality check and go, right, I'm going to go and find a service. No one's going to pick you up, my friend. Why would they give you you've got a house. You're walking away from us. Why would they give you another house? No one's going to give you a house, my friend. Yeah. No way. And I would have that chat with him. And I've had that chat a few times in the past and gone, you've got somewhere to stay here. Now, if this is not where you want to be, you can work towards something else. But if you are going to jump out of the frying pan, you'll be jumping into the fire. 100% you're jumping into the fire. And do you like the streets?
Yeah.
Go a sleeping bag, because you'll need them, because I'm not going to give you a bed. I don't care if you're sleeping out. There are people with real need who've been sleeping on the streets for a week who've been hoping to get a bed with me. I'm not giving you a bed. I'd actually put him on the... I would even, if I was to work...
Is that an acceptable thing to do?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
If it was me, I would go out of the room. I'd go, look, let me have a chat with my boss. I'd run out of the room, make a phone call, go, I'm going to get this guy to call you, tell him what's going on, put him in the real world, will you? And so I'll come back in and I'll go, here's a phone, call the local homeless service, see what they say. And they'll laugh in his face and go, off you go, mate. Toodle pip, you're on the streets. And we'd scare the guy back into being up, because what else would you do?
Yeah.
There's no magic, there's no requirement for anything better than. And there's not enough resources. So if you have to use a bit of bluff and bluster, and you have to be a little brusque, in terms of respecting somebody, do you not respect him enough to tell him the truth, and laughing at him and going, matey, are you mad? That is a kind of realistic response to make, and to actually talk him down in a kind of framework that he will understand. You know, where you go, you know, he might be combative and go, I'm not mad, I'll go and get something. And that might say, well, if he responds that way, he might really have a mental health problem. But even so, he's not necessarily as vulnerable as somebody else might be who's already on the street. And he's actually making himself homeless. So you go, so like the woman in the case plan last week, the outcome would not be any different. You would still go, no, matey, so let him go and sleep outside. What's going to happen? Well, tomorrow, if he comes knocking on the door, it's pretty cold. Gonna come back in now. Sorry, we're giving you a better way. Yeah. So that's it. That's how that goes. Honestly, that, especially if he's 19 and he's going like that, is exactly how that goes. Let him go out.
Yeah.
Let him taste the cold. Let him have people laugh in his face. Have service, because they'll go, is there somewhere you can go? And if he goes, yeah, I can go back home. They go back home. Everyone will say that, and everyone will go. And it is better he has a short, sharp shock. We would hope he doesn't go out and get stabbed that night, right?
Yes.
Unless he's extremely vulnerable. You'd have to assess him as having, but we're not aware that there's any massive vulnerability with him. You know, has he got an intellectual disability, for example? That sort of thing.
No, he did really well at school up until 12 months ago. So
well, he might have a mental health problem, which might make him vulnerable, right? If you walked around, let's say he had Tourette's or something, and was going around and fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, somebody might stab him. Yeah. You might go, probably don't want him on the street. So you've got to kind of think. Yeah. I think in those scenarios, what's the worst case scenario? That's always what I go to. What's the worst case I could see happening? And he could go and get stabbed or robbed or beaten up. Yeah. But what he's probably going to do is hang around, and he'll probably be back at home knocking on the door before the night is over.
Yeah.
No, and let that go on. If you want to be homeless, so go and be homeless. So that is how that works.
I ran away when I was a teenager, and we lived in we lived in the absolute middle of nowhere, and so off I walked down the dirt road to nowhere really, and came home. And as I came home, I said to Dad, "Can I come home?" He said no, and he threw stones at me. And it was the biggest lesson of my life. I never ran away again. Like, obviously after he'd had his fun, you know, I went home. But yeah, like, it was a really good lesson.
And maybe that is what he's doing. He's having a tantrum. I mean, he probably there's probably something else going on, but still, you want to go, matey, especially if he's got no motivation to leave. He's not motivated. He wants to just stay in his room. So what if he's agoraphobic? I don't think he's leaving home. So my idea would be, right on the case plan, that you advocate case goals for Aaron, 100%, reconnect services. Why would you send him to, he's not homeless, so you don't send him to a homeless service. If he knocks on your door a day later and he says, "I'm homeless now," you might look at that. That's different.
Yeah.
That might be that he's had a fight with his dad, and if that's happened, there's a whole set of different circumstances. So case goals would be talk to his father, talk to his family, especially his mother and his father, explain to them the world of hell that is homelessness, that they don't want their son falling into it. However much they are unhappy with him, they really want to avoid that. Arrange mental health assessments. There's nothing really immediate going on. I don't even think that's immediate. I mean, if we look at, let's have a look at the case goals down here. Mental health assessment, that's what we want to put down as being as soon as possible. If say, this is another thing, mental health assessment, if he says to you, "I want to kill myself," today you want to get him a mental health assessment. Within the next few hours, you want to, he's clearly identified suicide. If instead of that, you know, he says, "I don't feel very happy. Sometimes I'm not depressed and I'm not motivated," and you suspect there might be a bit of depression or something, you don't need a mental health assessment today. That could go in the next few days. No. Probably nothing's going to happen. That is going to, you might want to have a quick chat with him, and again, you're referring him to counselling for his aggression, for his family, and some AOD. You want to ask him about that and find out what's going on there. Has he ever used substances? What substances does he like? Does he drink? Why doesn't he drink? Has he never tried dope? You don't like it? Well, I'd ask him, and kind of really, I'd want to know that a lot if it was me, and I'd come back to that as well and try and you've got to be a bit like a policeman and say, and go back to questions and find out the answers are different, and approach the same question in a different way. You never go to parties, you know, do they ever drink at parties? You still never touched a drink at parties? You know, I'm not the place, so I don't care. Oh, right, okay. So you've had a drink, okay. What's your favourite drink? Oh, right. Like that. I go and find all sorts of different, and I talk to people and kind of get all the info and get them to spill without them knowing that they're actually telling me all I need to know. And then look at goals for him, long-term goals, and try and get him motivated to go, what do you want to do? You know, you want to be a spray paint artist? Okay, let's link you in with, you know, you want to be a gamer, a professional gamer. That's a thing. I can't believe that is a thing. Right?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
YouTuber.
A YouTuber, yeah. You want to be? I'm a YouTuber, I suppose. It's going on YouTube. I'm making money for it.
My son's desperate.
Is he?
Yeah, he's 7, and all he wants to be is a YouTuber.
Is that right? They know at that age, do they?
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
My God. It's a new world. I'm better off out of it. Can I get sponsorship for this then? Can I? Right. So we're no. So that's all of them. So when we do, so let's quickly zip back because I know we've gone on almost an hour. So for everyone who's bored, enjoy. So we're going to go back, fill this in. Immediate. What's the goal? What are the actions to get there? So let's say counselling, because all of them are going to be counselling. Arrange counselling actions. Call the counselling service. Review date 1 week after. 1 week after you've set the action. There might be a couple of things.
Yep.
So, for example, let's say Kylie's legal thing. So goals. Confirm legal situation for. Sorry, not Kylie. For Maria. Confirm legal situation for Maria. Actions. 1. Discuss with Maria. Dot points. Discuss with her her relationship regarding her ex-husband or her husband. Does she want to get a divorce or not? Her income and her property settlement, separation, and any intervention, separation orders, protection orders that she wants to ensure that her husband can't come and attack her as he feels like he wants to at any given point in time. So there might be 3 or 4 actions for a single goal. So you have to be aware of that. It's not one goal, one action. It could be one goal, multiple actions to get that goal sorted. And then the review date is related to the action, not necessarily the goal. So if you've got multiple goals you might on one day with Maria, say, talk to Maria about her legal situation, review date that day, and then arrange with Maria protection order, a review date, another date. So
so there could be a few dates in that box.
Yeah, absolutely, related to the strategy, the actions, which are the strategy. And that's it, really. And dot points, you don't have to write a book, bing, 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 I suppose, do we have this here? Let me see if I want to see if I've got a list of other ones. Who did I have up recently? Let's go for practice. Assessments. Case studies. Okay, so that's what mine looks like. Short-term emotional issues. See, that one's quite similar to Aaron, isn't it? Short-term, reconcile family, explore options to return Jason to his family. Or this would be return options to keep, explore options to keep Aaron at home with the family. Emergency housing, not that, that'd be you. Speak to the family, speak to to Aaron's family. So, yeah, like that. So 9 easy dot points, one runs into the other. Priority, immediate, short-term, long-term. That's very, very important priority. Always have that. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're...
cool.
I've got
Thank you.
I've done a lot of crapping on, haven't I? So, thanks everybody for coming. I'm going to stop the recording now. Bye.